We're back. And it's time for another vlog. And I don't have the selfie stick, so you're getting the camera held the old-fashioned way. Selfie sticks packed. We're in the shop. As you can see, I've got a royal mess. That's because the shelving that used to be in the storage locker is out here on the patio. It is May 1st. We are getting ready for West Coast Hunters Convention. My merchandise, for the most part, in the trailer. I've got some other stuff already packed in the trailer. I've got to get the shelving in the trailer. And we've got something else that we're waiting to hear on. So I'm not even going to go into that. But I've got about a week, almost a week and a half of downtime right now. I was thinking I really didn't want to get into something major and make a huge mess in here that's going to cause a mess when we get home from the convention. We're trying to get stuff put away. But yeah, I don't want to sit around. So I think our next project is going to be the Mausoleum. We are going to get the Mausoleum project finished so we can get set up in the backyard and get a look at everything. So to start it off with the columns. These columns need to be sanded down and painted. Plus, I got to replicate that box. When I got them from Spirit, they came with the boxes, you know, so the pillars were sitting up higher. And the boxes are cardboard, which won't work for an outdoor hunt. The first bit of rain we get, those boxes are going to collapse and the pillars are going to come tumbling down. So I've got to make a wood box for those pillars to sit on, and I've got an idea on how to detail them. As far as height-wise, I brought in one of the 1-foot panels. I wanted to see what the height was. And it looks like there's about a 1/4 inch difference between the height of my wall panel and the height of the pillar. No problem, I can fix that when I'm making the box. I just make the box a 1/4 inch bigger. It's going to be kind of hard to get to things with the tables as messy as they are. So I think most of my wood I can still get to, and I can get to the saw. So I think we're going to get some measurements off that box, and we are going to start putting things together. And see where we go. We'll go step by step and see how things go. Alright, we made it a little ways today. Got a couple other things I want to do with these yet. But I've got 4 boxes made for the pillar, and it brings the pillar up just a hair higher than I need it. But that's going to be good because I'll be able to, you know, let me have do something else. You'll notice the pillar is about 1 inch taller than the wall panel. I'm going to have 2 pillars by each entrance, one on either side of the entrance, and I'm going to actually do some sort of arch or corbel or whatever you want to call it in between them, over it. And once I get them into place on top of the pillar, I'm going to be tying them to the wall with the to the wall of the mausoleum. With the wall of the mausoleum being 1 inch shorter, that means the pillars should tip back slightly once I get them fastened, and now I'll allow water and stuff to drain off. So that working as intended, I guess you can call it. Now at this stage, though, that I've got the boxes complete, all 4 of them. There's 1 there, 3 there. I want to do some detail work on them. I got these a couple years back from Troy Scarehollow. I'll just say Scarehollow. I cannot pronounce his last name for some reason. Corvalone? Sorry, Troy. But anyway, I got 2 boxes of these from Troy. And what I was thinking about doing is cutting these down on the table saw to about 1 inch. You know, and then gluing them to the outside of the box for step 1. I'm going to try cutting one now, and we'll see how it turns out. But I was thinking about covering all 3 sides with these as a as a detail piece, just to see how it would look. Okay, a day or so later, and we got some of the detail work done on the outside of the boxes. Now, all I did was take those tubes and I cut them down. It's about 1.5 inches length. I was able to get 15 pieces out of a tube. And then I went and took some hot glue, put them on there, and just kind of stuck them on there. I've still got some more detail work to do, but for all intents and purposes, this step is done. My next step involves the top, where the pillar sits. I need to put something up here to keep the bottom of the pillar from sliding across the plywood. So what I'm going to do is I'm going back to the cardboard one that came from Spirit, and what they did, they put a cardboard hoop up here on top, glued it to the box, and the pillar goes down over the top of it, and that keeps the bottom from sliding. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get that hoop off, that way I can use it for a pattern. I'm going to trace it out on some plywood and cut some hoops out of plywood, and do the same thing. I'll just attach it to the box. And something else I need to do, you notice there's a hole here. They had actually a cardboard tube running up through the middle of the pillar to keep the pillar from wanting to tip and fall apart and stuff. We've decided on the two that go at the entrance to the mausoleum, we are going to plumb it for fog. And I am actually going to run a PVC tube down the middle of the pillar into the box. So I'm going to need to drill a hole here so the PVC tube can get down in there. And then once I'm going to have to cut a hole here as well in the box. Once it's down in the box so the fog can escape, what we're going to do is, if this here was the walkway to get into the mausoleum, I'm going to cut a hole out, probably that one right there, and we'll put the tube there. And I'll do that on both boxes that will go on either side of the door. So when the fog comes out, it's blowing, you know, at the people as they walk in. And then some of the fog will whiff into the graveyard, some will whiff into the mausoleum. So I've got to get a bunch of those hoops cut out, put in, and I got to drill some holes in the boxes. That's going to be my next step. One thing about having the metal shelves packed for West Coast, you know, I showed you all the mess up on the tables. With all that mess up on the tables, I don't have room for things. I've got stuff strewn all over. The floor's a mess. I'm going to have to take a break here and get the shop cleaned up. But I went through, got the ring put on, so the base of the pillars will sit on there, won't slide around. I also cut a hole in the middle to allow a pipe to run through it, and I drilled a hole here to let the fog out. And I also decided to add this crossbar here, so when the pipe comes down, it will actually sit and rest on that, and it's at the same height as a hole on the outside. I've done that to all four. Now, the last piece of detailing, and then I'm going to set these off to the side, is in here. I just don't want to have the rings up here. I want something in here, and I want it irregular. Now I have, I think it is 9 cans of great stuff left over from another project. So I think I'm just going to squirt some great stuff in each of the holes and let it cure up, and we'll call it quits for detailing after that. Not too bad. It's been about an hour since I did the great stuff, and it's ballooning out. It looks like rising bread. I'm going to let these set overnight so they set up really good. And then I'm not sure if I'm going to go back across the surface and maybe do some slices and stuff in it and roughen it up a little bit, or if I'm going to leave it mounded out like that. But those are, for the most part, effectively done. I've got some sanding I need to do on the pillars before I can paint them, and I'll do that when I get ready to do the painting. So our next step is up at the top here. We need to do the arch going over. And I think we'll work on that tomorrow. I don't have my plans in my mind all the way set yet. I got kind of an idea of what I want to do, but we're going to have to wait and see how things go. Another day, another dollar. I've been out here for a bit. The boxes that we were working on yesterday for the pillars have dried overnight. And I decided to add more foam to it, you know, in the gaps in between the circles and stuff. Those are going to have to dry for a couple hours. And I think once they're all the way dry, I'm going to probably come back through and do some sanding and mill work to the foam and stuff to get it the way I want it. But like I said, it's got to dry. So that will be a couple hours from now, later today or tomorrow, I'll get to them. I think right now, what we're going to switch over and work on is the arch or lintel or whatever you want to call it that goes from pillar to pillar. I need to do up 2 of them, one for the entrance and one for the exit. So we're going to switch gears and move over and start working on that. Okay, the foam I did earlier this morning is pretty much dry. I'm going to wait till tomorrow and we'll get in here and get that all shaped up, and then those will be ready for paint. Since then, I've been working on this up top here, the piece that goes across the top. Got the base plate in, and I went and cut a hole for each pillar here. So the pillar actually sits up and inside, and I made a little cavity. So they sit up and in there about an inch, you know, so it's locked on and can't come off. Now we got Gargi out here just for looks. He's not exactly centered up there, but that's where he's going to be going. That's why I bought him, was to go on the arches. And now I got to do some framework. We're going to do a peak down through here, and we'll have it broken here with Gargi sitting in the middle. Okay, end of the day wrap up. We got out here this morning and I sprayed more foam on the boxes. Those will be going in the shop tomorrow and getting cleaned up and ready for paint. And then we started working on them. Even got Gargi up in his spot. Framework and stuff's done. Tomorrow we've got to get that in the shop, get the foam glued on and applied. Getting into the shop, just got my table kind of straightened away. We've got that to work on today. I need to get some foam out, and we're going to get this all dressed with foam. Foam's going to get glued on the front and on each end, and then on the bottom side of it too. And then we're going to have to let it set and dry overnight probably, and then we'll get in here and do some carving and stuff on the foam to dress it up. I'll be attending to that later today. For right now, I'm going to work on these, and that's the bases. I need to get them done so I can get them back outside. What we're going to end up doing is, I got my foam in there, it's cured. I'm going to take an orbital palm sander, a DeWalt orbital palm sander, and I'm going to go over the face of it and get it all evened up. The effect will open it up so you'll see all the little bubbles and stuff inside the foam. And it's going to level it off with the front of the tubes I put on here. Nice thing is there'll be little pockets and indents and stuff in here because it's not all the same all the way around. So it'll make it look a little irregular. Plus it'll clean it up some. Alright, got one done. And I ended up having to switch up my plans a little bit. I was going to knock the foam down using the orbital sander. And while it was doing the trick, it was taking forever. So I went and got my Sawzall out, gave it a shave, and then went over it with the sander to kind of smooth it out a little bit. I think once it's painted in the color scheme I'm planning on, it ought to look okay. But you look at the circles, you know, some of them are full, some of them have gaps in it. Up here along the edge, you know, it's uneven up there. And on the corners, even. I might add a little bit more to the corners, I don't know. I haven't decided that point yet. I gotta get the set designer out here and have her take a look at it, and I'll run it by her and see what she has to say. But for now, I'm gonna keep going with this, and we'll see what's what happens. Well, pretty much done for the day. It's 4 o'clock, so I'm getting out of here early. I went and got the foam on. I'm using Gorilla Glue to mount the foam to the plywood. And I've got the screws in here to hold the panels on until the Gorilla Glue sets up, which is going to be overnight. It takes a while for Gorilla Glue to stick. Now I went and cut all the foam oversized, so it's larger than what I needed. And then tomorrow I'll come in here, pull all the screws and washers out, and I'll trim this up so it's an exact fit, and then it'll be ready for me to trace the pattern on it and for carving. As to the indents, I'm leaving from the washers. Once I get all my carving and stuff done and it's sanded, I can come back through if they're extremely noticeable, and I'll use some silicone caulking to fill it and level it out before I paint it to hide those, so you won't even see those. But for right now, that's what it's looking like. So I gotta let this dry overnight. We can get it fitted and stuff tomorrow, which won't take long. And then the other thing I need to do is I've got the other set of pillars to work on. I got all 4 boxes done, all 4 pillars out there. I do not have the arch made for the second set of pillars, so I've got to get the arch made for that. I'm not going to do any carving on this or anything until I have both this one and the other one, which I have to make yet, ready. I've been out here for a little while today. Got this finished up. It's ready for carving now. I'm going to set it off to the side and work on the other arch. But I made one mistake I'm going to have to fix. And it's with this underside here. I've got the foam running all the way to the back edge. I forgot 3 inches of this. This needs to be bare plywood, because it's going to overlap on to the mausoleum, and I'll attach this end of it to the mausoleum so it's not so wobbly. It'll be anchored to the mausoleum that way. I can't do it with the foam there, so I'm going to have to cut 3 inches of it off. And that's going to be easy. I just have to score 3 inches down the side here and then chip the foam off and sand the glue down, because there's Gorilla Glue along that edge. But all in all, it didn't come out too bad. We got our spot for Gargi up there. And I didn't foam in there on purpose, because I had no intention of carving the foam in there. Gargi would be blocking most of it anyway. So we'll just spray that gray. Okay, boys and ghouls. I'm to the point now where I'm running up against West Coast Honors Convention. It is Monday the 8th. Yeah, Monday the 8th. We leave on the 10th, and I've got a lot of little last minute things I need to do. So I'm not going to have any more time to work on the mausoleum build until I get back from West Coast. So what I'm going to do, since this would end up being one hell of a long vlog if I kept everything in it, and the fact I need my camera with its memory empty, I'm going to go ahead and get everything downloaded onto the comp, get it edited, and we're going to put this as part 1 for the finishing of the mausoleum. God, there's been way too many parts in this mausoleum build. I'll be glad when it's done. But anyway, when we get back from West Coast, we'll get back into the mausoleum build and keep at it until it's done. At least that's my plans now. Things could change in a week's time. You never know. But in the meantime, probably next Monday, you're going to see 3 or 4 different vlogs coming out from me on West Coast. We'll have some showroom floor looks, some of the costume ball, some of the craziness up on the 13th floor. I'm going to be hosting a Wednesday night social on the 10th, day after tomorrow, for those getting in early on Wednesday. And I think we might be getting together either in the embassy or in Randall's room or our room for a little late night social and stuff. And we'll get some photos or video of it. And there'll be some photos I'll be posting some photos off and on Facebook too over the weekend, more than likely, as I have time, if I have time. So stay tuned for that. Past that, I'm going to say good night, goodbye, stay spooky. Oh no, hold it, what is it? Oh yeah, stay spooky and stay toxic. It's been so damn long since I've used that catchphrase, I almost forgot.